Hello and welcome to the last keynote speaker session at PLEA 2020. Our first speaker in this session is Michael Smith Masis, who studied architecture in Costa Rica and the AEA in London, where he specialized in sustainable environmental design. He became a Loeb Fellow at Harvard GSD in 2018. In 2010, he had co-founded Entre Nos Atelier, a social collective design workshop. The architecture of Entre Nos Atelier encourages participation, collaboration, cooperation, and ownership by low-income residents, rural and indigenous communities, and informal settlements, the true protagonists in the city. Michael has facilitated projects from housing to public space, guided by principles of replicability, efficiency, functionality, feasibility, and environmental sustainability. He is committed with a social design agenda within community empowerment, environmental awareness, and hands-on experiences based on inclusive design processes, mostly developed upon low-income environments. His work has received significant awards and honors. I'll try to summarize some of them. In 2017, the Thika Award for Young Architects Practice. In 2015, the International Architecture Award at the Buenos Aires Bienal of Architecture. In 2016, the Grand Bienal Prize. In 2016 and 2014, the Eco Madera Prize and the International Bienal of Architecture in San Jose, Costa Rica, among many others. Alongside his architectural practice, Mike has taught and lectured worldwide to build capacity for transformation processes within distressed communities. I must confess that Mike is one of my dearest friends and that we have known each other for the last 13 years. But he's also one of the most talented, hardworking, honest, and intelligent architects that I have ever met. And I'm very sure his keynote lecture will be of great interest to all PLEA participants. Thank you, Mike, and welcome to PLEA 2020.
Dear all, how are you? My name is Mike. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for all the PLEA organization, and also to Jorge Rodriguez for this opportunity to share the work we're doing in Central America. So let me just share my screen briefly here. Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's go. Today I'm going to talk to you about regenerative design and spatial justice, which I think is very important to encompass this conversation along the PLEA conference. First of all, there is this key question about sustainability as a concept. Why do we want to sustain something that has been proven that our means and way of living in this earth really compromises our existence? So why do we want to sustain that we have exceeded the earth capacity to sustain on the biosphere, for example? We have exceeded. We are also having this egocentric perspective on how to control and dominate rather to be more ecological and how to fit in within the environment. We also know as humans, we will vanish, but life will go on. So we're compromising only ourselves. So we are our own enemy in that regards. So sustainability as a question, basically we're talking about demanding resources, but how about we talk about providing or even regenerating? How do we fit in within a system? And in the spirit of this moment, leaving the place in better conditions than before should be something that we have to be talking about. Also, I forgot to mention, I hope all of you are taking care in your home countries and wishing you the best during this very fundamental and transitional and harsh moment for a lot of the population in this globe. So just sending my regards to all of you. And I think this also comprises what is going to happen after this moment we're living. Perhaps we should think about leave the place in better conditions than before. We all know that sustainability has these three axes, the social, the economical, and environmental, but also we should be talking about how to integrate this, because we know sustainability is quite complex and integrated, and you can easily get lost because of all the parameters you need to consider. But maybe we also have to be talking about which are some visions or concepts that help us to integrate visions upon this. For example, I want to put on the table Janine Venius. She was the one who put this concept of biomimicry from the Biomimicry Institute. And they're talking about that there is 10 nature unifying patterns to consider. For example, nature only uses the energy that it needs. Nature recycles all materials. Nature is resilient. Nature tends to optimize rather than maximize. Nature provides mutual benefits. Nature runs on information. Nature uses chemistry and materials. Nature builds using abundant resources and only incorporates rare resources only in sparingly. Nature is locally attuned and responsive. And nature uses shape to determine functionality. So these core concepts are very important because they also orient a perspective towards an integrated way of dealing with the environment. In that regards, there is also this amazing book by Donella Meadows, which is called Thinking in Systems. And she puts these 12 leverage points. And if you relate these points with a sustainability perspective, they're really important to understand and address that. First of all, as a system, there is this notion of causality, if you may call it, in terms of the complexity or the way you explain a system, but also the way you approach it conceptually and even theological. So first of all, the first leverage points, they talk more about materials, altering the rewards and the material flows. The second one is more about the processes and changing feedbacks within these processes. Then design comes into account, redefining goals, flows, and self-organization. And finally, the intent. How can we change our mindsets and paradigms? In that regards, I think that's very important. When we talk more about these deeper leverage points, have a great potential when we are more concerned about the values, the core values, the paradigms, what is really changing the mindsets and the drivers from which we depart to develop or to deliver design on urban planning, for example. To make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone, as Buckminster Fuller will say. So I think that this is also a very important side gaze of the era, you know, like we're really need to be concerned about the lowest impact with the best possible outcome, especially acknowledging the importance of we as human beings, but in a more holistic perspective. So coming across different certifications and codes, and as LEED or BRAM, for example, I came across this one, probably most of you know it, the Living Building Challenge for a regenerative future. And I think this one is very important because it's also a more holistic or integrated way to see things, because they talk about 7 points. The first one is place, which makes a lot of sense. Water, energy, very familiar from the fields in which we work. But then they talk about health and happiness in a deeper and meaningful perspective. They talk about materials and equity and beauty. And I think 4, 6, and 7, they're really keen because they really help us to understand what is our role within sustainability, within creating and generating the better social, spatial conditions for everyone. And of course, the implications on the environment. So these Living Building Challenge questions, first of all, okay, we know we have negative environmental impacts, so that's why we have codes. Then we know we want to be green. We know we want to be better performance. We know we want to acquire sustainability, should be embedded, but also what happens afterwards when we have this more integrated perspective in terms of our environmental impacts. And that's where the regenerative part really plays a key role in that sense. So nowadays, I think it's very important how we integrate within the systems, how we regenerate, how can we form even coalitions to achieve this in a meaningful way in terms of multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary agendas. Versus, of course, we have worked a lot with the reductionist approach. It has taken us to the moon, of course. We have been to the moon with this approach, but nowadays it's only most focusing on just the figures, the numbers, the money for that regard. So I think it's very important that we should move forward to a more integrated point of seeking things in a more, I will say again, meaningful way. So I wanted to share with you some work, and this work, or this field that tries to overlap things, is a more intersectional and transrelational places or opportunities to work. And I truly believe that social-spatial dimension is the core of that. And it has helped us to develop a significant body of work that I wanted to share to you today that goes in that direction. This work is grassrooted, and this phrase I heard a couple of years ago for me is very meaningful. The opposite of poverty is not wealth, but justice, by Brian Stevenson. This very meaningful phrase, I think, puts into the discussion, first of all, justice as an important driver for everything we do. And it's really an ethical question. And also, what is the relationship with space, with the co-production and the generation of space? And coming across these two important concepts, we can still be thinking in a more meaningful way in terms of sustainability or low energy or passive architecture in that regards. So I truly believe equity, justice, and space are very important in this conversation. And in most of the places I work, we try to bring down, first of all, these socio-spatial stigmas. This is what the press, they really sell to you, these very dangerous, harsh conditions. We know, I mean, we do have in the globe a lot of harsh conditions, but this is not the truly representative part of it. The truly representative part is very vibrant communities that they really work alongside. They're really pushing things forward, and they're really, hard workers. It's not about violence and fear, the narrative. The narrative is about this. And of course, there is a big movement in Latin America, and an important movement of community leaders, colleagues, emerging collectives, students, activists. It's truly a movement, and I can say that I'm part of it. We have been working with a lot of people in the past 15 years in that regard. Also, it's important to mention that this spatial justice agenda, in a way, we keep talking about globalization in terms of the North, where you have the developers, the wealth, and then the South in and in need for development. We are the poor. But how about we talk about the global majority? Because we keep doing these extensions, and we all know this is not the real representative aspect in the way we human beings, we share our globe. Also, it's important to know some relevant figures in terms of poverty. 1 billion lives under the line of poverty, 2 billion in informal settlements, 80% of the world population lives with $10 per day. But this is not, we should understand that $10 in different contexts, they mean different things. And half of the population in Latin America lives under this so-called line of poverty. But we know, first of all, this is not a third world issue. This happens everywhere. US, London, Paris, Athens, Madrid. We also know that in Latin America, we're not talking anymore about rural migration. In fact, since the 60s, the cities had been producing itself the urban growth. And also there are new rural dynamics that we need to consider as well. We're not talking also about poverty rising. Since 1995, 50% of the population had improved their life conditions. We're not talking about the lack of housing. Actually, we need to talk about affordable, quality urban housing. We need to talk about the quality. We need to talk about generating communities, not just multiplying housing projects. 3/4 of the housing has been done without any architects, urban planners, or regulations. And also in that regards, I wanted to show, like, for example, I come from Costa Rica. Costa Rica is well known as this green, ecological, sustainable destination, but we all know this is our reality in where most of the people, most of the population live in the great metropolitan area. This is what we have: social-spatial segregation, rivers contamination. I mean, I don't want to sell bad my country, but in a way, this is the reality of most Latin American cities. And as somebody will quote from Einstein, or rephrasing actually Mark Twain, doing the same, you get the same results. And basically, with all these problems, we want to put everybody on the same box, and we're not caring about all that diversity of possibility of solutions by incorporating users and potential clients into the process of designing sustainable environments. So I truly believe in this part of participation and social empowerment. I also believe that building trust processes is probably the most important part, especially the trust. And this is something that we need to workshop. We need to work along and to craft the process of building trust. And there is a lot of ways of doing this, and we have been working on the field under different circumstances and with different groups of people to understand and achieve, again, meaningful projects, crafting these projects that are co-created with the communities that we work. So there are two key values along this. First of all, quality design has to be accessible to everyone, and participation generates appropriation. So if we talk about sustainability for that regards, are we really sure that the communities or our clients, they really understand these things and they actually participate on the core values, on the drivers that actually make the projects significant? We also believe that we need to recognize local intelligence. For that instance, in Costa Rica and most countries in Latin America, we talk about wellness, and this is like a fashion to some point. But for example, in my country, we have one of the 5 blue zones in the globe, which means where this is the population in the globe that they have, they live the most in terms of longevity. And we have one of these in Costa Rica, in a rural area, in a so-called poor rural area. These people tend to live more than 100 years. How we been incorporating how their lifestyles have been crafted, because they talk about nice and smooth human relations. They talk about walking. They live walking. They live by producing their own food, their own farms. So there is a lot of key aspects, and I think these conversations are important to seek, especially if you have it in your own country. We talk about circular economies because nobody wants to deal with all the trash and everything that we have been spoiling from all the resources that we get, and then we demand, and then we expose in terms of trash or rubbish. And we want to incorporate technologies from different countries, from the north, global north. But we have communities that they're really deep committed, especially in informal settlements, by recycling, by reusing, and they really can teach us a lot about this. We talk about sustainability in terms of mobility. So we have all these cycling all over the globe, all these initiatives from Germany, Amsterdam, US, and so on and so forth. And we have rural communities like in La Rita de Pocosí. This is a picture from a high school. They have more than 60 years of being using this type of mobility. Are we incorporating this knowledge into the agendas, into the new urban agendas, or we are just importing external visions that maybe they don't even fit? Ecology, we have all these experts, especially in Costa Rica, because of our biodiversity. We have all these people coming from all over the world to study the forest with amazing technology. This is truly amazing. But also, are we incorporating the indigenous people that they can teach us their wisdom on how they treat and they take care of the forest? Or we talk about regenerative. So there's all these technologies in terms of dealing with the rivers, the urban rivers, but we also have a resilient landscape, resilient indigenous plants that they also are providing to us technological, biological insights on how to deal with the water and the waste. Or we're just trying to import technologies, maybe in our own backyard. We have the biotechnology that can help us to deal with this. We talk about smart cities. Maybe we should talk about smart citizens, because smart cities, they're more oriented towards buying products to consume and buy technology products. Maybe we should be more smart as citizens and incorporate some of these technologies, but never losing our human way of dealing with the social spatial dimension in that regards. So today I wanted to show you some projects. Most of them are the ones I developed with my associate Alejandro Vallejo in Entre Nos Atelier. This is La Carpio. This is one of the biggest informal settlements in San Jose. We presented this work at the Seoul Biennale in Korea. We work with GeoAdaptive from Boston, and they help us to do some territorial intelligence on mapping inequality based on the SDGs, how to see inequality from different multidimensional perspectives, and having to map this in different urban patterns going through Central America until we get into La Carpio, which is the place that we are working right now. We have been working there for the last 10 years. And how is this actually being constructed in terms of social and spatial equalities? And in this mini video that we generated that is in YouTube, you can see all the main actors talking about the project, even Saida Muxi, which is a well-known critique person. This is Alicia Vilés, the community leader. And also we have in this Maris Estela, which is the founder of this foundation that we have been working with. And we show some of all the projects and the things that have been happening in this wonderful initiative that has different approaches, spaces, programs, as I mentioned, in one of the biggest informal settlements in San Jose. And basically, this is an initiative that has been crafted with the participation of main stakeholders from different fields. You know, we have people from the government, we have people from the NGO, we have people from the community, and we all work together alongside to develop capacities, civic infrastructure that was needed. For example, there are some entrepreneurships, as the one you saw before. It's called Entre Costuras. It's a tailor entrepreneurship. All the music ensembles, for that instance. We also map in a matter of 10 years all the different, the context, all the different sites, how they were related to this project, the families and their impact. Everything in red and blue is the projects that have been emerging from this initiative in that regards. And also we already constructed this addition to the project that you see. Of course, these are renderings. I'm going to show you the real thing in a moment. But this is, I mean, it's an ongoing, it's a very organic, ongoing process. So this project is called La Cueva de Luz, and has one very important prizes. For example, honor mention in the Biennale of Design in Madrid, in the Jala Prize in the Venice Biennale, the local architecture Biennale in Costa Rica. We won the two main prizes, and the Miss Crown American Prize, a mention, commendable in Illinois, as an example. And I'm talking about the prizes because we feel very proud. This is not my prize. This is not my associate prize. This is a common effort from a lot of people that has been involved in terms of the architecture that we have co-produced. The Carpio is a 50,000 inhabitant informal settlement. This is right on the bottom, you can see Alicia. Let me just move this here. CIFICE is the System of Art Education for Social Inclusion. And here you have, in this picture, Alicia, the community leader, and Maris Estela, the founder of the foundation that is working there. 10 years ago, we knocked the door and tell them, hey, how can we help in this beautiful project? Nowadays, it's a project that has more than 150 volunteers. It's a project that has an investment that tops more than $1 million, coming from mainly donations and private efforts. The orchestra that performs in La Carpio played on the National Theater in Costa Rica, which is a great honor. And it accounts an impact on over more than 900 persons. It's located in what is used to be called the Toad Cave, the most dangerous site in San Jose. And nowadays it's called the Cave of Light. And you see this, I mean, it's two main bodies of 4-star building. And there's this funny story about, I keep telling sometimes when we have the chance to present our work, it has won, as I mentioned, important international awards. And for example, in the Biennale of Architecture in Costa Rica, we won the main prize. So a colleague called to the College of Architects and say, hey, why? How come you have won this prize? And because this is an illegal project. And then the College of Architects, they called us and told us, hey, is that true? It's illegal? Of course it's illegal. I mean, it's in an informal settlement. So they told us, what can we do in that regards? So we sent the technical documents and all the drawings in a matter of hours. And by the end of the day, the project was legal. So this is, I tell this very comprised way of the story because I'm not promoting illegal architecture. In fact, we have the goodwill from the municipality, from all main local authorities. It's a matter that because it's an informal settlement, you cannot actually sign a paper, but it has, of course, all the stakeholders that were part of this project. They say, yes, you can go. So this project is more as we citizens calling for urban and social inclusion. This is not us as architects. This is us as activists, as citizens. Because the Carpio has been struggling for the last 40 years in terms of they need these kind of spaces, and they haven't been provided. And it's funny to say that after this project was constructed, then the Ministry of Education built the school. Then now the government is working in an important effort to provide legality to these premises with the community. So these are catalyst projects. They really help to go further in this calling for spatial justice in our cities. This project is no architect imposition. Actually, the project was not even finished and was fully activated because this is not the architect proposing a space. This is we as citizens co-creating a space in which the architects, they facilitate the design part, of course. So the appropriation is deep-rooted within the community needs. We have here a makers movement. In 2014, there was some exercises with technology. Then in 2018, they have some CNCs and laser cutters. And now they have this very nice entrepreneurship fab lab that they have been even building masks for the COVID situation, for the COVID-19 situation. There is this Entre Costuras tailoring entrepreneurship inside the premises. Music ensembles, as I mentioned, collective design workshops. We have worked with our students, breakdance, judo, karate. Is the regional tallest wood construction. And it has been incorporated, it had incorporated top practitioners as engineer Juan Tuc that help us to develop this project also with the enterprise Maderotec to develop and deliver this wooden structure with this timber structure. And also, I mean, it's an effort of public and private efforts working together to craft and deliver this necessary space for the community in order to gather, to organize, to have programs. And as you see here, there is all the graphics in terms of all the bioclimatic and passive design strategies that, of course, they were really well thought, I think, and they performed just fine. It's a very well cross-ventilated space. And as you see here, it's a very porous envelope, and the warmth of the materials. Hope if you come to Costa Rica, we'll love to take you there and see this project on site because it's really a transformative experience. And this picture at the end really comprises the best part of the project. You have private enterprise owners, community leaders, community members, NGOs, us. Even the Minister of Social Welfare was there. Now he's the president of Costa Rica, but in that moment he was the former director of the Welfare Institute, and he was an important asset also in this joining coalition of public and private efforts. This is now something else that we're pursuing. Is called Torre 3, Tower 3, or Torre Clave. Which is another intervention. It's a bit bigger because this project was very successful, but they needed more space for the elderly, for the kids. They wanted to have a Montessori, also facilities for doing entrepreneurship. and technology and sports. So this is a five storage building with open floor plans, which has helped us to understand the multifunctionality within these spaces that is very key and important. Of course, of the Costa Rican climate we have, it's very important to be fully operable and open envelope to have adequate comfort levels in that regards. Also, big questions that are arising from this project is, okay, we need to have a meaningful connections with the context, but also we have a lot of density and crowded housing units around this project, and also it's close to a river, and you have urban restrictions in that regards. So we were trying to pose the question, what if we talk to some of the families of the houses that are close to the river? Maybe we can temporarily use that plot to reopen it, to provide some density, to have renewable resources, regenerative landscape, water treatment. So we have this typology and a way to deal and to have this buffering, housing, a regenerative landscape across these critical parts. So we developed this strategy, which we call naturing in La Pequeña Gran Ciudad. And the big question here is how to reconcile the natural environment with the human development and in vulnerable conditions or communities. So La Carpio, of course, in terms of spatial justice, is a very interesting position they have, because, I mean, here's the city and all the disposals, they go to two rivers. The Carpio is in between two rivers. There is this also landfill, quarries, landfill. There is a water treatment plant here, but it's not helping La Carpio at all. It's totally disconnected from it. So it's like an island with all these deprivileged conditions and having all this waste. I mean, this is not a new story. It happens most in all Central America and Latin America, these conditions. And all the water from the city goes through this settlement and then goes into the ocean. So these places, rather of being a problem, an urban problem, they can be actually a part of the solution in this way of integrating nature and the anthropogenic impact on the territory. So we work with this concept of having linear parks and interventions in terms of a regenerative approach. So we develop strategies first on naturing systems and public systems. So as you see here in this diagram, we have all like these terms of providing density for housing, linear park, related with the anchor, that is the project that we built, and having in the front quarry a public cultural space. And this is like a strategy of having, first of all, a strategy of water management with different key components and aspects, and of bioengineering, way you can capture and filter and treat the water, and also how you have ecological restoration in terms of the landscape, all the trees that we wanted to incorporate, and having this biodiversity web well crafted with the landscape architects that we have been working, and the agroforestry experts in our country. These are some aerial views about what is this strategy about, how is it integrating different community engagement places. This is the housing projects, having urban farming, having, of course, a project that has built trust because it's already there. And this is an anchor and a way of explaining how actually can this be crafted. It's all made out of timber, so we're sequestrating carbon emissions, a huge amount actually of carbon emissions, and reconnecting with the river and reducing the carbon footprint is very important with that strategy. Also, this is the vision of these density housing projects and bioswale planters in a linear park here for that regards, and having all these, of course, again, all these intentions on how to integrate social spatial qualities within the urban fabric and the urban environment. And here are more images about the linear parks, the housing projects, among others. The other project I wanted to show you is called Capaclahui. We work in an indigenous community with the same methodologies of participatory design processes. And this project is very beautiful because it also has won very important awards and prizes around the globe and nationally. And there is a sense of proudness within the community because of this. And we have worked together, and it really belongs to local efforts in a rural environment, incorporating the indigenous knowledge to inform design decisions, that they wanted to have this porous, connected envelope. We got truly involved with the post-occupancy processes to see how actually this project has been used, and also if the programs are really related from their expectations, from what they wanted to have. So these are some images that they try to present this, and of course this project has been fully activated with different activities and important moments in the community. And finally, another example, this one we work in Venezuela. As you know, the situation in Venezuela is quite complicated. We were there like 5 years ago in this project. It's called Espacio de Paz, in which they invited collectives from Iberoamerica, from Portugal, Spain, and Latin America. So we work in this place. It's called in Cojedes, in San Carlos. We did a participatory design workshop with more than 70 persons that they were fully committed to understand what they wanted to do in this place. They have an abandoned, almost like a warehouse. It used to be a sports facilities, but it was nobody's land. And they wanted to craft specific operations for this abandoned sports facility. And then we work with these operations with them, and we challenge in this participatory design. In 2 days, we came with this idea. We validated with the community. They wanted to implement it, and we executed in 4 weeks. It was truly a challenge, and it really represented what they wanted to have. They wanted to have this open, public, democratic space in which it really belongs to the community. It's not closed. It's not like the Berlin Wall that you have around it, you know? So, and also these images, they come from the users, and you can see as evidence the empowerment they have been experienced with this project since then. And they have even a Facebook page in which they have been posting images from how they are appropriating of the spaces, and they feel, I mean, this really belongs to them. And these images, I think they try to illustrate, or they envision in the way they live the place they have been co-producing in the last 5 years. So it's a very beautiful initiative in the one we got involved in, and there was some actually important passive strategies, as you will see in the envelope, to cut solar radiation. I mean, the conditions, they were really hard in terms of solar radiation and high temperatures. So fully open, cross-ventilated, better thought overhangs in order to cut the solar radiation impinge. And also, I wanted to share with you that recently we have founded in Latin America, in Costa Rica, this foundation is called CLAVE. This is a Common Space Agency Foundation. We have done like this amazing group of multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary team to work to develop a catalyst fund to deliver quality social impact projects. Because what happens sometimes with these projects is that nobody wants to invest in the participatory design processes, or to invest time to talk with the communities to see and understand what are the opportunities, what is the participatory active research that has to be done in order to craft a significant value proposition of a project within the context. So we are working on this fund and with this group of experts to deliver and develop these pre-designed processes, and also to execute the projects. And because of this, I also just launched this platform. It's called Spatial Justice. This is more academic research and working with my students. And of course, what we have done with our practice, Entre Nos Atelier, which is more like a professional work. So this is it. I wanted to share with you some of the things I have been working on. I hope this presentation inspires you, and I'm looking forward for questions and comments and to keep talking about this. I try to put into this PLEA conference this social spatial dimension, which I think is a great platform that integrates important questions that we have in terms of even passive and low energy architecture, sustainability, regenerative efforts, coalitions. So thank you very much, Pura Vida, and see you soon.